What if the story wasn't written by chance? What if the shadows were taught to dance? What if the fear that divided the room was planted long before it started to bloom? We inherited narratives, pass them along, repeat them so often they start sounding strong. But somewhere beneath all the noise and the spin, a question keeps asking, where did it begin? Who decides the heroes? Who decides the threat? Who writes the headlines that we never forget? When the story gets repeated again and again, do we see the truth or the version handed in? What if fear was never just fear? What if someone wanted it here? What if the walls that divide me and you were built from stories we thought were true? The Bogeyman was built brick by brick, year by year. Now we're asking the questions they hope we never hear. Media voices and institutional drums teaching us where danger comes from. Images, language, labels, and names, turning human beings into targets and frames. But some refuse the narrative, some chose to see beyond the headlines, beyond them and we. Standing in truth when the pressure was real, questioning everything they were told to feel. What happens when we challenge the stories we've known? What happens when we think instead of being shown? What happens when a conversation pulls back the disguise and we finally start seeing through different eyes? What if fear was never just fear? What if someone wanted it here? What if the walls that divide me and you were built from stories we thought were true? The Bogeyman was built brick by brick, year by year. Now we're asking the questions they hope we never hear. This isn't about blame, it's about understanding. Not about division, but expanding. Looking deeper, thinking harder, listening longer, growing wiser. Because every powerful story begins with the question, and every transformation begins with the conversation.
There we have it, folks. How are you? We are live. I'm excited for today's conversation. Full transparency, that was generated by Suno. I took a little bit of research, punched in, had some lyrics created, and here we are. I can't begin to tell you how excited I am. My friend William Rochelle is joining me. Will, Bill, how you doing, my friend?
I am doing excellent. I am so excited to be here. I'm so excited to be on this side of the conversation. It's great. It's great. Hello, Leslie Flowers. Um, how are you?
I'm doing well. It is hot. Leslie points out that it's hot in North Carolina. Listen, it is hot here just north of Toronto, but we're notorious for not liking the weather, regardless of what is presented. It's too cold. We can't wait till the heat. The heat comes, and then we're whining about the heat. But hey, let's put the weather aside. We have something exciting to talk about. You, my friend, are an author and the author of a series that we're going to talk about today. Now, there's a little bit of a glare there.
I
So,
know. I
why
know.
don't you kick us off? Introduce yourself, because I might do you a disservice by not introducing you to the best that I know you are. So, who better to talk about themselves than you yourself? Step on that soapbox and tell us all about you.
This is the worst thing I ever have to do because I'm not used to talking about myself. But my name is William Rochelle. You can call me Bill. And the best way that if I would say who I am, I'm a father, I'm a friend, I'm a human that has multi layers. I'm forever learning. I've had the pleasure of being a C-level operator at multiple accomplished companies, and I am navigating life just like everyone else in this moment. What I am most proud of outside of my family is my ability to be resilient. And that resilience has created a podcast, it has created a newsletter, it's created regular articles, and now a 3 series book called The Boogeyman. And volume 1 is out right now. The Boogeyman Was Built. And that is key. And who's the boogeyman to you? So volume 1 is out, and anyone that listens to this show right now, if you go to Amazon, the ebook is completely free. So if you get scan the QR code, it the Kindle version is free, $0. My gift to you. I think it's such a great project, and people need to really take a moment and get out of themselves and read a little bit of who we are and why we're here. I think that you'll love it. Volume 1 is out. Volume 2 will punch you in the face.
Like we haven't been punched in the face enough over the last 5 years.
Well, the reason why Volume 2 punches you in the face is because Volume 1 lays the ground, right? And so Volume 1 goes from today to yesteryear and back to today and then yesteryear and kind of compares things. Volume 2 is what we're sitting in. So it really does punch you in the face, because then you're like looking and you're like, but Volume 1 was from like the early, 100 years ago. This can't be happening right now. So it is my passion project. It's built on topics that I generally wouldn't talk about on LinkedIn, just because. And the target audience is anyone that believes that we can be better. Anyone that believes that we can be better. There's too much going on right now for us not to really open our eyes. And there's too many narratives that simply aren't true. They're not true. And so this really does open up that narrative. And what it does not is it touches on it, but it does not go down the slavery road and all that, that's the stuff that people think that they know. But it takes you from that point and moves you forward, and it shows you how the system has been built. And the thing that strikes the hardest is, believe it or not, we were unified until the machine was built.
Oh, I'm excited to get right into this. We have people joining us across 3 platforms. We are streaming across LinkedIn, YouTube, and Substack. Love to make this as interactive as possible. If you have questions for William,
Jairus Tucker. Sorry.
drop them in the comments. We'll bring them up and
Hey, Omar.
make this as interactive as possible. All right, let's start bringing some of those. Okay, hello.
I'm sorry.
No, hey, this is your spotlight. Say hello, do what you need to do. Let's welcome the crowd. We have a good number of participants in the audience. Don't forget, if you're not already following or subscribing to William, um, please connect with him. He is a wonderful person. And while you're there,
You
you know
said
what?
that like you meant it.
I did. I did. Listen, give me a follow as well, because Bill just pointed out that I mean what I say, and I mean it when I say, hey, give me a follow and subscribe as well. We got a lot of great things happening here in our space. Today, we're spotlighting our friend William. The Boogeyman Was Built. Now, there's a question that comes up. Oh, let's park my question and bring up the question that was brought up by someone in the audience.
David Darnell.
David
That's,
Darnell asks, what inspired you to write this book?
so the book has been written for about a year and a half. And what I mean by that, David, is I write every day, and that's my outlet. And so anytime something hits me, I write about it. What I hadn't done was put it into book format. There are several things that inspired me. And I'll tell you one of them was Curtis Brooks, because Curtis Brooks always would say, Bill, they're selling you lies. Bill, they're selling you lies. And that was in my heated days when I was like, burn everything down.
No.
And Curtis was like my calming figure. And he would say, they're selling you lies. Don't believe it. They're all lies. But also, David, what made me start to put it into book format, believe it or not, is hi Adrian, is Ini Osung and Christiana T. Johnson. And what occurred was we were on a show together, the three of us, and they had said separately that they were educated in Nigeria, and when they moved to London, they felt as if the education was subpar, meaning that they were more advanced in their education system in Nigeria. And I turned to them both and I said, did you guys really experience the same thing? And they both said, yeah, absolutely. And I said, why doesn't anyone say that? Why do we only see little African children with flies flying around their face? I mean, that's what we see. And then after that, I saw this woman from Africa telling her child, you better eat that food. There are people starving in America. And I was like, we just don't see half of it. And I live in a very unusual zone. So I am 100% a Black man. Power to the people. I would do this hand, but I can only do this because it's a work of art, but I can't flinch. And why I say I live in a very interesting zone is because people don't know who I am. And I hear what people say about other cultures because they don't recognize that I may be a part of that culture. I was driving on the street, and I know this is going to be well, we're selling a book, right?
Hey,
So here's
let's
the story.
talk about it.
I'm driving on the street, and I'm with my friend, and she said, I said to her, I don't understand, 'cause I live in Miami. I don't understand how these young kids are able to buy an S-Class. And she said they're drug dealers. And I said, that white kid over there is a drug dealer? And she goes, oh, he has rich parents. So in one sentence, without looking over, she made a decision about who that person was based on their identity, because that is the story that we've been sold. And is she racist? No. Is she uninformed? Yeah. So this book is not to call out racism or anything like that. What it is meant to do is to let you know the truth with facts that you can back up, you can research on your own, and then make a decision about how you view people. I do it every day. Every day. And then I think to myself, why would I just assume that?
Isn't it? Maybe I was going to say funny, but it's not so funny. But how we're so quick to make an instant definition, opinion based on things that perhaps we've been taught to believe, have been surrounded as being things that we all adhere to because that's what everyone else is talking about.
Yeah,
Right?
absolutely.
It is scary. If we put our time, our effort, and our energy into doing things that would bring righteousness to everyone, to bring humanity to an even playing field. We put that same energy that we do put into discrediting people for whatever reason, besmirching their reputations, their cultures. All you have to do is shift that same energy, and the world would be a much better place.
I agree with that. You know, the other thing that the book brings out, and I think maybe you and I touched on that, maybe we didn't, but it transcends one. The boogeyman is based on a subject, right? A subject. But that's not the only boogeyman. The boogeyman is anything that the machine requires to feed itself. So in some cases, the boogeyman might be immigrants coming to take your jobs. In other cases, the boogeyman might be a woman running for president. Can't have that. The boogeyman is whatever the machine requires. And if you really, really,
At that
really,
time.
at the time,
Yeah.
it shifts, but it always shifts back to one. There's one consistent throughout the entire thing. And the value in reading the book is that you understand the lie, and it will make you reflect on anything. Which historical event had the biggest impact on your research? All of them. All of them. Because what I shared in the book are things that most of us don't know. What I shared in the book are things that most of us don't know. So I'll give you the opening. The opening is that in America, there was a hierarchy. And within that hierarchy, people locked arms. They weren't going to take it anymore. And those people were Scottish, Irish, African, anybody that didn't own land and needed to work farms. When they locked arms, the people at the top recognized that they were outnumbered because the people were united. So what they did was they created a division, and they offered to the Irish a path out of slavery because it was easier to identify one group. Hey, Joe. It was easier to identify one group. And so that's how this all began. It all began with the working class and the poor locking arms and saying, we're not going to take this anymore. And the machine saying, if we divide them and pit them against each other, they won't care what we're doing over here. And if you really, really, really think about it, with all of these ICE agents and mass deportations, I ain't got no job yet.
We've had 125,000 people leave our country. Some of those migrant workers, some of those who have just thrown in the towel and said, "This is no longer for us. We're going back to where our roots are
Yeah,
because it is much better where we came from than it is where we're at the present time."
but we can change it. But we need to know how it happened, what occurred. And there are all sorts of lies I hear every day that this book answered. And it tells you how that lie was created, why it was created, and how it lives on.
I love the fact that we have an audience who are engaged and they're asking the questions that I had queued up for you. But what better way than to make each and every participant listener part of the conversation? So what do you hope readers take away from this book?
Exactly what I just said. And before I say it, remember, everybody that's watching right now, the ebook of volume 1 is free to you. It's free. So if you go on right now, do me a favor. I need to say 2 things real quick.
Yep.
Follow my author page because that will help me seem like I'm a different author. I mean, a better author.
An author with
Like I have
social
a
authority.
following. Yeah. And it will help sell my book. I also want to tell people that I don't have a job. So if you want to buy the book, please do it because that will help me. But it is free for this, for this, for the next 24 hours at least. And I want to do that because I want people to really understand volume 1. And then when volume 2 comes out, it's going to hit you like a ton of bricks. But what do I hope readers take away from this? So the volume has 3 chapters. 3 chapters. I don't know why I did this to myself. The volume has 3 chapters. I can only do like this. And volume 1 is the foundation, Clayton. Volume 2 hits you like a ton of bricks because, as Leslie Flowers said, it sounds like today, which is why I wanted to go there. And volume 3, Clayton, is what I want to go to, which is all of us locking arms like we did in the beginning, understanding that together we can take over. There's only 10 people that are ruling this country. I say 5 because it's only, I mean, how many billionaires are there? It's Elon Musk, Mark Zuckerberg, Jeff Bezos, Warren Buffett. I mean, it's a very small amount. And they're paying the least amount of taxes. And we're paying for everything. We're paying for a ballroom. We're paying for a 250-year anniversary. We're paying for the modification of an airplane that he can't even use anymore. He flew it once. He flew the plane once. So we're paying for all this. But at the same time, what we're doing is we're talking crap about our neighbor. And all our neighbor is doing is living his or her best life, trying to survive. We're complaining about people on welfare trying to feed themselves trying to feed their children, trying to stay alive. Do you know who the biggest welfare recipients are?
Share.
Oh, you know, the biggest welfare recipients, if you really want to think about it, would be Elon Musk, because we're subsidizing all of his companies. Walmart, because we're subsidizing their companies. Um, Amazon at one point, I'm not sure about today, but all of these big billion-dollar corporations pay less taxes, and then they get subsidies. And then they don't pay their people a livable wage. So their people have to go on food stamps, and they're giving themselves a $40 million bonus. So understand that every person out there, if we live with compassion and humanity and really understood that we are better together, that we're stronger together than we are divided, we can all be successful.
So I heard you're talking about all these big oligarchs. Uh, if you do the math, Elon, first trillionaire.
Yeah,
Like,
but that's a Ponzi scheme.
yeah, I know. But if you just look, you talk about doing good for humanity. If you do the math, there's 8 billion plus people. Like, he can give and support everyone with enough money to either kickstart, sustain, and still have more than he knows what to do with.
Yeah,
So my dad has always said there's just an abundance of wealth in this world. It's just poorly divided and poorly managed.
absolutely. Absolutely. And see, I can't talk too much because then I'll give away my whole book.
Yeah,
But
we don't want you doing that. In fact, let's
you
kind
don't
of
want me
bring
talking too much?
let's bring this back to the book itself without you giving away too much. Here's a question for you. The title, definitely an unforgettable title. It was so much fun promoting today's event just on the title alone. The Boogeyman Was Built. But was there a runner-up? Was there another title that kind of sat on your laptop, your desk, and
No,
it's like,
that was it.
it was always the Boogeyman.
Yeah, because I had the thought in my head first of a child and things that scare children. And then I listened to the narratives on different platforms, and I was like, why is this group the boogeyman today? And I recognize that as children, we grow out of it. I think I told you this already. And this is the preamble to the book. But we're afraid of the thing hanging in the closet, and we're afraid of something hiding under the bed, or something's walking down the hall. Um, but we grow out of it. But there's this one boogeyman that throughout time has always been perpetuated. And there are things that you hear on the news. Make me give away my whole book.
All right, then hold on a second. I let's not do that.
We're done.
Let me ask the question and see
Okay.
if we can keep the suspense and
Okay.
keep people interested in the book. You talk about let's bring it up. So, what's one misconception about fear? And we talk about the boogeyman as being this definition of fear of some kind that you'd love people to stop believing in. There's stuff that we're taught to believe. What's the one thing out of perhaps the millions, thousands, however you want to define, out of all the things, what's one thing that you want people to take away from when they read your book? Stop believing in X. What is that?
Your zip code. That's what I would say. Stop believing that someone who is who has gone to college is smarter than you. Stop believing that someone that is your gardener is less than. I was walking down the street, and I live in a decent little area, right? And there were two guys, and they were just mowing their lawn, someone's lawn, and I just walked past them and I said, "How you doing?" And they were just like, "We're just trying to get by." I'm like, "You know what? Me too." And we just started talking about just life. And in life, when you talk to people, you have more in common than you have that's not. Hey, Brian Bring.
Let's bring his question.
Absolutely. The boogeyman was created to deflect from someone else's inadequacies.
Fear
You
is
know,
something to conquer, not to overcome. What are your thoughts on that? As the author of the Boogeyman.
you're deeper than me, Mudasar. Conquer, not to overcome. You know what? I think that's just a play on words because I think both can be true at the same time. I can overcome my fear of heights, or I can conquer my fear of heights. Both of those terms means that fear is behind me. Am I incorrect in that logic?
Fear of rejection is the greatest hindrance to success. We have Mudasar engaged and invested in this conversation.
So fear of rejection is the greatest hindrance to success. And I will say this, that this book has been sitting in my mind for over a year, but I pushed it out at this time because I wanted to do something before the end of June, before my birthday, that would make me believe in me again. And one of the things that occurs is when you are out there and every day you're facing rejection, you are looking, look at you, Joe. You are, that's my buddy. You are constantly needing to lift yourself up. And so, what I wanted to do for me, that's actually the right link, I think, Joe, because that link takes you to the hard copy book. Um, I wanted to do something special, and I wanted to say that I have gotten over the last year a chance to shift my direction, to shift my energy, to talk about what I have versus what I don't have, and to say to myself, not to my children, not to my dog, to me. If I sit back and say, what did I do? What did I do over the last year? I, I, I published 3 books. You know, that's not a small task, and it's something to be proud of.
It is something to be proud of. I have yet to put pen to paper and write one, and here you are, 3 in the last year. But I'm sure you'll point out which volume will answer this next question because you talk about uh, fear and the boogeyman as something that is manufactured, narratives that are manufactured. Now, let's talk a little bit about what narratives in your personal space have you had to unlearn as a result of either writing the book or just as a result of, you know what, I've had enough of this. It's time to stop believing what they're feeding us. It's time to unlearn this and come up with the truth. Because I know you wear your emotions on your sleeve and you're not afraid to share. Love to hear your thoughts on what you've had to unlearn.
Okay. So I had to unlearn in the past 5 years, and I want people to give me grace with this, okay? Um, I had to unlearn judging things that I didn't understand. And so there are some things that aren't meant for us to understand. So when I first moved to Florida, my next door neighbor was, I don't know the right word because I don't know exactly where she was in the process, but she was definitely transgender, I guess. But I'm not sure. But she and all of her friends were. And I'd never lived next door to someone that was transgender. And what I found was that she was the nicest person. She loved my dog. She was like, oh, if you want me to walk him sometime for you, let me know. And I'm like, sure, why not? Your fear, people judge things that they've never run into before. And they make assumptions about things because they've not been exposed to it. And the most ignorant thing that I've done is I texted someone texted me. I was at the dog hospital, and he said, she was telling me something about work, and I responded that I was sitting across from someone and I don't know what they are. And he said, they are who they are supposed to be, and you need to let that out of your head. And I was like, damn, I was just schooled by an 18-year-old. It was absolutely true. It was true, but I couldn't tell if it was a man or a woman. And that person was like, why do you care? Why are you focused on that? Your dog is sick. And I just told you that we just hit, a major milestone in the company. And your response is, I'm sitting across from someone, I can't tell if it's a man or a woman. So that's something that I'm embarrassed about. But I also believe that as you know better, you do better. So once I went through those two things, it changed my outlook on how I think or how I prejudge people in my head. Was that the right answer?
That was your answer. That's what's most important. There's no right or wrong answers when we're having conversations. It's
Okay.
about what's real to you, what you believe in, and what you want others to take away from. So it's very courageous of you to share something that you've had to unlearn, that
Oh
perhaps
yeah.
others
Yeah.
others are still struggling with unlearning, whether it's something similar or something completely different.
Yeah.
Sometimes there's a
Someone asked.
fear.
Someone said to me, um, "Do I agree with trans people being in women's sports?" And I said to myself, I said to them, I don't care one way or the other. Um, it's up to that person. And then I said to myself, you're worried about a trans person playing volleyball on a girls' volleyball team, but we still don't have answers to the Epstein files. You're worried about a girl playing volleyball on your volleyball team, but you're not worried that our president is a convicted sex offender.
Yeah, it's amazing how people prioritize things differently.
It's amazing, and it's ignorant. And one of the things that is incredible about us as people is that we have the opportunity to grow and evolve in the right way, in the right way. But we need to be able to speak our truth and to let the untruths not lay dormant someplace else.
So let me pause right there and ask or layer another question on here. So why is it so easy for us to simply get drawn to the villain, simply get drawn to a stereotype, to things that are manufactured, that the boogeyman, as we define, can be a variety of things, but we're drawn to it and we're drawn to believe that what is being fed to us is what's best for us.
It's easy. It's volume one. It was built on the concept that we all want to feel better about ourselves. And some people want to feel better about themselves by being above someone else.
Is that not narcissism by definition?
No, I don't think so. I think it narcissism is a whole different thing. But even within the narrative, they have people that don't love themselves because they believe the narrative. So that's why they vote against their own agenda. They don't love their own community, and they look for someone else to hate on.
While you're reading that question, I want to take a moment to welcome Janae and Karen, who are joining on Substack and on my Substack feed. Welcome to the conversation. Unfortunately, if you want to participate and drop a comment, I'm going to look over and I might be distracted
It's okay.
and try to listen to and read the conversations and the chatter that will come in or may come in through our Substack feed.
So Substack is always a rough one for me because I don't get the comments. So I never know if anyone ever views my Substacks. What was the question again?
So we were talking about how easy it is
Oh,
to get drawn into what the boogeyman wants us to believe and what it wants us to conform to.
yeah. It's a constant drip. And so if you're in a constant drip, sometimes you don't realize that you're drowning. And the narrative is a constant drip. And if you think about it, all of our all of our media outlets currently are owned by a handful of people. That includes news, that includes television, that includes movies. It's all under just a few group of people. And they tell you what they want you to hear. And it's gotten worse. So you have people like Jimmy Kimmel getting fired for telling a joke. That doesn't make sense. That's not the community that we're supposed to be about. You have someone that constantly tells lies about everything out there, and no matter what I say to people, they still believe what they're hearing because it was repeated on Fox. So it's this bubble of, you can't even get mad at them because they're being fed something that has been generational.
Now, has any of your early readers of Volume 1 reached out or reacted with
Felipe said that he was reading it and it was better than he expected.
All right.
Yeah, yeah. He said it pulls it in, and it's just like anything. And I sat in my bed and I reread volume one a couple of times because you get a different thing when you're in it and you're writing it, and then you're like, okay, fine, this is the final version of the manuscript that I'm going to submit, and then you submit it. And then when you get it in your hand and you're flipping through it and you're going chapter by chapter, I try to figure out how many chapters do I get through before I fall asleep. So I take it to bed with me, and that's my reading for today, right? And I'm getting through it. I'm like, okay, I did 6 chapters before I was like, okay, it's time to go to sleep. But I'm in bed, and the idea is to go to sleep. But yeah, that was it. Felipe said it was much better than he thought.
That's always good, right?
And
That feeling of, oh, what are people going to think? It's no different than going live. It's like, are people going to show up? Are people going to listen? If you're a podcaster, are people going to upload? Are people going to read my articles? There's always something that people will share with you that just either opens their heart, opens their mind to thinking differently. And it's like, well, I'm humbled by some of the early stuff that's coming in.
yeah,
And so that's great that Felipe shared that feedback with you. So it kind of brings you to a place where you can lower those barriers. It's like, and not worry so much about what other people are going to think. Just know that as
Christy
people,
just said it's one of the best books I've ever read.
and there we have it, folks. We're going to take a screenshot of this and we're going to share this with you.
Thank you. That made my day, Christy. Um, and the thing about it is, when I was thinking about writing a book, I'm going to be launching, I think, 3 others by the end of the year, or at least 2 others by the end of the year. But this is the one I wanted to do first because this is where my heart was. And I don't know if you follow me, Americo, but I write every day like leadership articles. So for me to do a leadership book would be like no big deal, right? And it could really kind of be like a guide to like, oh yeah, this is how I do leadership, so hire me, right? Or hire me as a speaker. But my passion, even though I do need to be hired, people don't get that wrong. Um, but my passion was people need to understand this. And why now is because an 8-year-old today has grown up, is 18 now. Like an 8-year-old 10 years ago is 18 now. And the 18-year-olds are more divided than we were as children because they've only known this system of it's either this or that. And that system has continued to grow like a beast. And if you
Wow.
don't recognize it already, I don't know what to tell you. Go ahead.
Here's what I'm taking out of this as you are speaking. Is it to say, possibly, and there may not be any truth to what I'm about to say, but I'm going to say it just to spark the conversation. Is inclusiveness then manufactured? Because if we're still so divided today, or the generation that you just spoke of is still divided, is inclusivity just something that's manufactured for us to believe that we're all getting along?
Inclusivity is to
Yeah,
believe that we're all getting along.
yeah.
I don't think that's the narrative. I think the narrative is that inclusivity is not something that's required. And inclusivity is considered inclusivity is considered reverse racism in America. So that's the new narrative. That's the new narrative. So, you take a look at it at any level, any level. And today, if you say diversity, it's a negative. Today, and you guys need to know your history, okay? But today they are defunding assistance for people with disabilities. Today, they're doing away with DEI programs, while at the same time, they have applicant tracking systems that force you to tell you what your ethnicity is, and then they're getting sued because they've discriminated against you based on your ethnicity. But there's no way to sue about that right now because they've dismantled that department, that division in the United States. The lie is that immigrants are coming taking your jobs. So they've gotten rid of all the immigrants, and now we're bailing out farmers because the farmers are losing crops, and there's a need for a ballroom.
That's all.
It's he's still doing it right now. He's making new columns on the White House. It's ridiculous. He paid so many $billions to have this airplane redone, and he flew it one way and had to take the regular Air Force One back, and said he's going to leave it where it is as a museum for people. That's our tax dollar, but we can't feed the poor. Make it make sense.
Make it make sense. All right.
Make it make sense.
What a
Talk
great
about
segue. It's a fabulous segue.
Go ahead.
Let's have you help us make sense. Writing this book, what part of writing it surprised you the most? Was it the writing? Was it the editing? Was it the research?
No.
Talk to me, Bill.
Hold on for a second. Give me a second.
Yeah. As Bill steps away, let's welcome anyone who has not been part of the conversation from the beginning. Feel free. Bill has offered the Kindle version of The Bogeyman Was Built free for those who are participating and attending today's event. So if you scan the QR code may take you to the hardcover.
Yes, buy it, but it's free on Kindle.
So we will keep this up. This will be part of the replay, but the free Kindle version will be turned off shortly after today's event.
Yep. So what surprised me the most is this is the book that I wrote. And when I did my first pass, Nicole, this is the book that I got. So what I learned was to make sure that you have correct naming configurations of your versions. So instead of uploading the entire book, I uploaded like a chapter. Like, okay, that made no sense. The part that I struggle with the most is that this is a story about everybody. And my fear is that people may think it's about one particular group of people. And it does start off with one particular group. But it's really about all of us. And when I start talking about it, I always want to preface it with, it's really not about politics. So our president is not mentioned in the book once. However, the effects of this administration are mentioned. Um, we don't talk about, slavery, although we do start off with the fact that, the Irish and the Scottish and the Africans were all a part of the same group at one point. And that makes it hard because people seem to not want to hear about somebody else's plight. They think it doesn't belong to them. And I'm here to tell you that the one thing I kept asking myself as a kid when it came to the Holocaust is, how did the world allow that to happen? And as I look at what's going on today, I'm like, how is the world allowing this to happen? And the reason why it's allowed to happen is that people do not scream until it affects them personally. People don't understand until it affects them personally. So I am screaming from the top of my lungs so that people stand up. If not because it affects you, then because it may affect somebody else that you love. Ted Cruz was recently asked about the LGBTQ community. And I believe he's always voted against, he's conservative. And this time when he was asked, he said, well, they've been a part of our world for as long as I know. So, they have the right to do whatever they want to do. And then someone pointed out that his daughter just came out. So someone can be against something until it affects them. So don't wait until your neighbor is dying to stand up for equal rights. Don't wait until, your neighbor's being deported before you stand up to them. And the machine that people don't understand, and I am going to get a lot of heat for this, but I'm going to tell you guys something about America. To Felipe Cofino and Joe Rivas and Alex Vasquez, one of them is Mexican. To the people that want you deported, they don't know the difference. Your name is Felipe. Your name is Rivas. They don't know where you're from. So why would anyone like a Marco Rubio be on a coalition looking to dehumanize, deport, and put people in detention centers? And if you look at what's going on, it hasn't stopped. It's just stopped being televised. But Black people have decided, we've told you guys. So they have not been out there like normal, because if Black people go out, the narrative becomes Black Lives Matters, riots America. That would be the narrative. We watch a woman get shot in the face in Minneapolis for simply driving her car. And they blamed her and tried to take her down because she had a wife. We watched a man get shot in the back. A nurse, a male nurse that was pulling someone off. There was no reason for that. But as I tell that story, what I want people to understand, and this is not at all putting anyone else down, but that story is normal in the Black community. Being shot in the back by police that are there to protect you. Being shot while driving while Black. So now it's going outside the neighborhood and into the streets. And we are funding ICE, our dollars, but we're not funding food. We're not funding healthcare. We are divided because people think that it's not going to hit them until it does.
Wow, that was deep. There are people, as you pointed out, being hurt, being beaten, and in some cases even killed as we find ourselves in a difficult time. Makes what I'm about to say just a non-conversation piece as a non-visible minority, but to give you an essence of what's happening, whether it is the administration, whether it is just the boogeyman and the manufacturing of what is right versus what is wrong. I got denied entry into your country uh, almost a year ago, September, because I had answered a question: have I been or visited Cuba in the last 5 years? And the answer was yes. I love traveling to Cuba. It's a humbling trip for me because it connects me and gives me thanks and an appreciation for what I have on days that I complain when living in the Western world. And I got denied entry because I answered yes to that question. Now, when you put that next side by side to people who are dying, it's it's not even a topic of discussion.
It is a topic of discussion because it goes back to what we said what I said previously, which is people think that they're getting rid of Mexicans. And I live in South Florida. So if you've ever been to South Florida, you recognize that we have a heavy South American, Cuban, Latin, like I don't speak Spanish and I wish I did. I feel stupid. But here, and this is a part of the machine, the people that live here voted to have ICE and immigration kick out the people that are here because they thought they're only going to kick out the Mexicans. They're not going to kick out the Cubans and the Venezuelans and the Haitians and other people. So it goes back to the entire thing. I wouldn't come to America right now.
Just looking at the Substack feed, we had Lachelle join us. Welcome, Lachelle, over on Substack. Yeah, it is definitely a testing times, and for residents, non-residents, you know, all eyes are, well, whether good or bad, all eyes are on America, and a lot of judgment as to what is happening and transpiring and unfolding. And that's what's visible to us. I can't imagine what's going on that is not making it to the wire for us to see and really understand what's happening behind closed doors, boardrooms, and so forth. But I digress.
And none of this has to do with the book, by the way. I'm so sorry, guys.
That's fine. We're gonna
There's
get
nothing,
we're
there's
gonna get
nothing
back
about,
on track here. Let's get back into the lane that we want to, and that is to spotlight the Boogeyman Was Built. You are the author of volumes 1, 2, and soon Volume 3 is coming out. So why don't I bring up Volume 3 and we have a few closing questions and we'll wrap things up. This has been a fabulous conversation. I usually stop at the top of the hour, ask you as my guest, are you still good for time if we continue this and we go?
I'm great for time if I can take a pee break.
If you, all right, we're going to wrap this up. Um, I promised. Let's bring up the graphic. All right, Volume 3. Let's talk about Volume 3. When's it coming out? And why are we not talking about the kick in the face Volume 2? Is that out already?
Volume 2 is out already.
All right.
Volume 2, I I always love, I write songs, guys, and everyone asks what my favorite song was. And it's always the last one I created. Because for me, I evolve with each time I write a song. So when I did Volume 1, I loved it. And then when I did Volume 2, I went back and rewrote Volume 1. Because I was like, okay, Volume 2 is fire. Volume 3 brings that. It starts off with the fire and it ends its arc with love and humanity. And so it's called The Healing and the Refusal. And it's because once you've gone through volumes 1 and 2, you're ready to take in and digest volume 3. And what volume 3 does is it shows in more detail how every one of us at some point in time has been the boogeyman, and how that boogeyman was used in various narratives. And then volume 3 closes out the same way volume 1 began. It's that we locked arms as a people and as a group, and that we say we are going to dismantle the monster, and that we have the power.
Fantastic. Great place to kind of cap it off. Your
You tired
book.
of talking to me?
I'm not tired of talking. Hey, if you know me, I can go on for 4 or 5 hours. I've been known to.
I did that the other day with Chris. Chris
Yeah,
and Joe. We did a 3-hour show on Sunday.
I just love live streaming. I love everything about bringing real topics, engaging with real people and in real time, and taking those conversations and repurposing and redistributing it so that we step away from what a lot of us are hearing is that AI slop. This conversation is going to be repurposed into long form content, into short form content. But rest assured, despite leaning into AI to help dissect and pick out the talking points, these are real conversations. So nothing that will be redistributed will be, hey, write me something about the boogeyman. This is going to be repurposed and meet people where they're hanging out in different platforms to drive awareness and help you drive sales for your 3 volumes. So here's
Volume 3, by the way, is on pre-order right now. So it is on KDP for pre-order along with volume 2. So volume 2 comes out August 18th and volume 3 comes out September 9th.
all right. So whether it's just the one book or the series, what is one word that would describe the boogeyman?
That we all need to be looked at on our individual merits. That we all need to be looked at as individual people. And we all are collectively the same.
All right. More than one word, but I accept it just the same.
All right. And I got to go pee on that note.
Bill, it has been a blast. Stay tuned. We're going to work this once we're off the air, and you and I will stay in touch. Go
Okay.
take your bio break. I'm going to close the room off. Thank you everyone for participating, and you're going to keep me busy because there was a lot of comments coming in, and I love to engage with those comments. If you're not already following us, as I mentioned at the beginning of the show, if you joined us late, follow, subscribe to both William and myself. If live streaming is your thing, come hang out with like-minded people. The QR code, oh, wrong way. QR code at the top right-hand corner will welcome you to my school community. And we're just having a blast helping people build stages of their own, similar to this, and having them bring real conversations to life and repurposing and redistributing those.
Hold on.
All right. On that note, yeah.
Oh, wait.
Go ahead.
So I am also writing a chapter in Men, Money, and Mental Health with Nicole and Gallego, her. And anybody that wants to join that book, I think we really should do it. It's about how men deal with their value when they're not the breadwinner, when they've had a dip in their career and they're fighting their way back out of it. I've done it 3 times, and I've been in the pit, and I thank you, Joe, and I've risen and then been in the pit again, and I've risen, and it's not easy. And I think men deal with it differently. I think everyone deals with financial problems in their own way, but I know that I lost my identity. And so that will be a raw chapter for me. And I welcome any other men that want to join in on this project, because the guys that are writing it are phenomenal. All right, that's it. I got to go.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Until next time. Bye for now.
That was fun.
What if the story wasn't written by chance? What if the shadows were taught to dance? What if the fear that divided the room was planted long before it started to bloom? We inherited narratives, pass them along, repeat them so often they start sounding strong. But somewhere beneath all the noise and the spin, a question keeps asking, where did it begin? Who decides the heroes? Who decides the threat? Who writes the headlines that we never forget? When the story gets repeated again and again, do we see the truth or the version handed in? What if fear was never just fear? What if someone wanted it here? What if the walls that divide me and you were built from stories we thought were true? The Bogeyman was built brick by brick, year by year. Now we're asking the questions they hope we never hear. Media voices and